I still remember the day I moved into Baba Ganyu's compound. The sun was shining, birds were chirping, and the building looked normal, too normal. But my spirit didn't settle. Something felt off. The compound was old. Cracks lined the walls like scars. The paint was peeling, and a strange silence filled the air, like the place was holding its breath. The other tenants looked worn out, not just tired, but defeated. Like people who had stopped dreaming. Then I saw him, Baba Ganyu. Old but strong. His eyes were dark and deep like a well, and his stare made my stomach turn. He didn't greet me. Just stood there, watching, judging. That was the first sign. It didn't take long before I noticed strange things. Tenants fighting without reason, couples separating, young men turning to alcohol, women crying at night. I asked Mama Sade, the elderly woman in room 4, about it. She sighed and said, "You go no soon." And I did. Because in that house, pain was not a visitor. Pain was a resident. And Baba Ganyu was its landlord. 3 weeks after I moved in, something unusual happened. A young woman walked into the compound with 2 bags and a confident smile. Her name was Ranti. She greeted everyone politely, even Baba Ganyu. He didn't reply. He just hissed and walked away. "She go learn," Tope whispered to me, puffing his cigarette. "That man no like happy people." But Ranti didn't back down. She greeted Baba Ganyu every morning with a smile, and even offered to sweep the compound. The rest of us were shocked. Nobody had that kind of boldness. One day, I asked her why she was so kind despite the tension. She said, "I don't fear darkness. I light my own candle." That was when I knew this girl would change everything. I decided to talk to Mama Sade. She had lived in the compound for the longest time. She looked at me, sighed, and said, "Baba Ganyu wasn't always like this. His wife left him many years ago. Since then, he turned bitter." I asked, "Is that why strange things keep happening? Why people don't progress here?" She looked around and whispered, "There are rumors of juju. Some say he buried something in the ground. Some say he uses people's destinies." Goosebumps ran down my body. Why hasn't anybody exposed him? I asked. She shook her head slowly. "People who try don't stay long. Or they run mad." Tope, who stayed in room 6, had always been wild, drinking, smoking, and fighting. But recently, he changed. He became quiet, withdrawn, and scared. One night, I heard him screaming. I rushed out to find him shaking on the floor, his eyes wide with fear. "She came for me," he cried. A woman. With red eyes and no legs. She stood at the foot of my bed. We all gathered. Even Ranti came out, concerned. Baba Ganyu watched from his window but said nothing. Later, Ranti said to me, "That was not ordinary. Something is wrong with this compound." She was right. One evening, while we were cleaning the back of the compound, Ranti's broom hit something hard. We dug a little and found a small black calabash, wrapped in red cloth, buried in the soil. Inside was a piece of paper with names: mine, Tope's, Sade's, and others. Each name was written in red ink. We were terrified. Could this be what's holding people back? Ranti asked. I nodded. We decided to burn it that night, but by morning, the burnt calabash was back in the ground, untouched, as if nothing had happened. Now, we knew for sure this was spiritual. A week later, fire broke out in room 3 where Mr. Deo stayed. He had just received a job abroad and was celebrating. That night, his room caught fire mysteriously. He lost everything. When he tried to confront Baba Ganyu, the old man just laughed and said, "Some people are not meant to leave." That was when I saw it, the hatred in his eyes. He didn't want us to succeed. He wanted us trapped, broken, and bitter like him. That day, I decided I wouldn't let him win. Ranti called a meeting with a few trusted tenants, me, Mama Sade, Tope, and Sade. She said, "My uncle is a pastor, and he knows how to deal with spiritual attacks. But we must all agree to expose Baba Ganyu." We were scared. But we agreed. That night, we prayed together. We anointed the compound quietly. And for the first time, I felt something shift, like the air had changed. But that same night, Baba Ganyu collapsed in front of his door. He screamed, "Leave me alone." Nobody was touching him. That was just the beginning. The next morning, We found a letter under Ranti's door. It was written in blood. It said, "Leave or die." Ranti didn't flinch. She held it up, laughed, and said, "Fear is not welcome here." But I was scared. What if we were next? Taupe almost packed his bags, but Mama Sade stood and said, "No. If we don't fight now, we will all die slowly. Enough is enough." We agreed to stay and fight. That Sunday, Pastor Juwan, a gentle but powerful man, arrived with Ranti. He walked around the compound, praying. He paused in front of Baba Ganyu's room. "There is deep darkness here," he said. That night, we held a powerful prayer session. As we prayed, thunder struck out of nowhere. The ground shook. Dogs barked. A shadow ran across the compound. Baba Ganyu screamed inside his room, then silence. The next morning, Baba Ganyu walked out weak, shaking. He said, "I surrender." In front of the whole compound, he confessed, "I was hurt. My wife left me. I wanted everyone to feel the same pain. So I went to a Babalawo and collected powers. I buried destinies, locked up success. I am sorry." He cried. We stood in shock. Some wanted to beat him. But Ranti stopped them. "Let him be. His judgment is coming." Pastor Juwan led a full cleansing of the compound. He broke every pot buried in the ground, burned every charm, anointed every doorpost. As he prayed, some tenants fainted. Others cried when he got to room 4, Mama Sade's room. He paused. "There's a hidden secret here too." Mama Sade broke down and confessed that long ago, she once helped Baba Ganyu perform a ritual. She begged for mercy. We forgave her. After the cleansing, everything changed. The air felt lighter. The compound, once heavy and dark, now felt peaceful. Taupe got a job. Sade got engaged. I got a business breakthrough. Ranti started her foundation for abused tenants. It was like a curse had been lifted. Even the neighbors noticed the change. We were happy again. But justice wasn't done yet. One of the former tenants, whose child died mysteriously, reported Baba Ganyu to the police. With the confession and evidence, they arrested him. He didn't fight it. As they took him away, he looked at us and said, "Thank you. Maybe now I can find peace." The house was quiet for days. We couldn't believe it. Baba Ganyu was gone. We painted the compound, cleaned every corner, laughed again, played music. People started calling it the House of Hope. Even new tenants moved in. They didn't believe the stories until we showed them the old calabash. We kept it as a reminder. Sade got married in a beautiful ceremony right in the compound. Everyone celebrated. Ranti became the MC. Taupe danced like never before. And me? I caught the bouquet. It was the first wedding in the compound in over 15 years. One day, I sat under the mango tree in the middle of the compound and smiled. We had all survived. We had overcome wickedness with unity, prayer, and courage. Ranti sat beside me and said, "See? Light wins." I nodded. Always. We visited Baba Ganyu in prison. He looked older, weaker, but calmer. "I'm not proud of what I did," he said. "But I'm glad it ended before I died." He asked us for forgiveness, and we gave it. Because forgiveness is freedom. Ranti's story spread across Ibadan. She became a voice for tenants who suffered under wicked landlords. She was interviewed on radio. She started a movement, and through her, more wicked landlords were exposed. She had become a light in the dark. Our compound received an award from the local government for community strength and restoration. We were on TV. Our pictures were in newspapers. We were no longer victims. We were victors. Looking back now, I realize the house didn't change because Baba Ganyu left. It changed because we stood up together. We refused to let evil win, and most of all, we chose kindness over wickedness, unity over fear, and light over darkness. This is not just my story. It's our story, a story of pain, power, and peace. And it all started in a broken house, under the rule of a wicked landlord named Baba Ganyu. Thank you for watching this interesting story and drama. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on the notifications bell so that you will be the first to get the notice for the next video. Thanks and God bless.